Got ourselves together Alexandra. I keep messing up your name left and right. As on the hands of Shaman, we got Cavaliers on the Holy Souls, the Shadow Priest. We got ourselves Oxygen as a Fire Mage, as well as Shiv as a Sub Rogue. Looks like Alexandra is going to be first up versus Skills Rogue, Skills Lou. On the team, we got Knight Pally. We have ourselves Malor Pala as a Red, Buffer Kane as an Arcane, and Big Homie King as his own class. The homiest, the Kang. Kidney Shot by Skills, looking for that Kyrian opener. Shadow strikes into Cheap Shot to try to get the most damage onto Alexandra. But Alexandra is just playing it very, very defensively. The Cloaker Shot is really early for Skills with a Smoke Bomb. As Alexandra hasn't committed too many cooldown 6 for Ghost Wolves. Ghost Wolves definitely keeping the Rogue in combat. Just to get some kind of a Frost Shock or even a Flame Shock just to keep the Rogue in place. And actually Skills taking a bit of damage just from Wolves. Unless it was all lost during that Storm Strike. Was that just all wolf damage? Oh my goodness. That's so much. That's way too much. I literally didn't even look at his health until the Storm Strike. I was like, oh my god, his health. Where did it go? Alexandra in Ghost Wolf Skills looking like he actually wants to go for an opener as Alexandra is eyeing the eye. And Skills looking to get some Kyrian damage up. Cheap Shot to follow that Kidney Shot and out in the open looking for a sprint. Shadow stepping past Alexandra. Actually looks like he's gonna stay on the Shaman and engage, do as much damage as possible. Blind after the Cheap Shot, and looks like he breaks his own blind. Maybe a bit of a mistake by Skills, but the Storm Strikes are gonna do the damage. Sunder missing Skills, I think, might have evasioned it. Does not have advantage system around dodging as many spells as he can from Alexandra, but eventually one of them is gonna hit. Shadow stepping past him, Shadow Strikes to follow, and no stuns are after, and that's gonna be a big old zap by Alexandra, taking him out. Not sure what just happened, but he did end up taking him out. A Knight Pally is going to be on next, slamming a Hodge onto Alexandra as they do go for a big old wall, trying to max out the damage. Where's the Knight Pally? Walling with an Earth Elemental. Just trying to fight through a Knight Pally's damage and go for as much healing while they can. Knight Pally is actually getting kind of low in health. Looks like the counter damage. Oh, Alexander just let the Paladin get low and lower and lower in health until a huge Chain Harvest, maybe a big old crit on top of it, was able to snipe him out of there, taking him out. With Buffer Kane gonna be up next, 5 minutes into this duel, dampening. Finally rolling. I press bubble. It looks like you press Chain Harvest before you press bubble. By a hair. I think that might have been a bit of a delay. That's BS. That's unfortunate. That is unfortunate. Gonna be Buffer Kane with a full Fleshcraft shields available, meeting his rival, Alexandra, who is an enhancement shaman who actually has a bit of a counterplay versus Buffer Kane. Grounding Totem, Purges, Ranged Interrupt, the self-healing. Oh, what was that damage? Oh my goodness! What was that? Oh my god! Well, I guess that feud has been solved. That feud no longer exists. I don't think they're rivals anymore. I think... Well, actually, no. To be fair, Alexandra did win the duel with Seavark last time. This time it went the other way, so it's a 1-1. It's more of a fair. It still is a feud. My goodness! Seavark just found, like, his own, like, inner Khadgar. Nerf Arcane. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta change the name now to Nerf Arcane. Deathborn, as Cavaliers right next to you, is gonna activate Anti-Magic Shell really early. Buffer Arcane with the ulti time just gonna get yoinked and run the other direction of Cavaliers. Like, well, I'm gonna pull in the other direction. I might as well go in that way. Cavaliers with an Anti-Magic Shell stunning Buffer Arcane is trying to set up himself a full for a full Arcanosphere. Does that go on cooldown when you get stunned like that? Do you still get Arcanosphere, or no longer is that no longer a thing? Cavaliers not even looking to interrupt Arcane buff on Arcane, as it's going to be temporal. Arcane got himself plenty of healing, gonna take a bit of damage from all those ghouls and fiends. Got himself Fleshcraft interrupted on Shadow. Actually can just hard cast a lot of spells into Cavaliers now. The Armor of the Dead is going to be right next to him. The Zombie, the Dark Transformation pet, is going to have an interrupt as well as a big stun. Buffer Kane just trying to use whatever abilities he's got to generate some Holy Power charges. Arcane Power charges. Silenced by Cavaliers. Buffer Kane is going to trinket out of it. The Cavaliers is playing two Strangulates. One, the normal stun. The other is the Silent Strangulate. So a pretty big silence effect, which is amazing against casters. Really good to deal with when it comes to dealing with casters. Polymorph onto Cavaliers. No pre-AMS for this one. Buff Arcane looks like he's going for a bit of an invis with the touch of the Magi. Re-polymorphing him yet again. Arcana Sphere getting loaded up. No way for Cavaliers to break out of it. Buff Arcane with a big damage AMS is getting used, but Cavaliers does take a hit. Touch of the Magi gets absorbed into that anti-magic shell. But Arcane damage did still go through. Cavaliers trying to get himself a little bit of healing. Fleshcraft, was that a Lichborn? No, not a Lichborn, just a bit of Fleshcraft. Got himself a little bit of healing from it. Has a full bar of runic power, so that could be a lot of healing. Buff Arcane with a temporal as well as an ice block. Gonna get a lot of health recovery. But did have to burn out the defensive cooldowns really pretty early against Duel and Cavaliers. We're 9 minutes into the duel. Actually, I guess not that early. We are 25% dampening in. So he's gonna have to worry about himself. Cavaliers got the swarm around Arcane with the silence. Could be a pretty bad situation. Trying to go for a polymorph versus Cavaliers. Quick stun by the pet. And Buff Arcane trying to see if he can disengage. Maybe he can get himself a Fleshcraft. Let's get another one. Got himself some food. Cavaliers is polymorphed. He's gonna have to try and find a way to catch up to Buff Arcane. The pet is slow by quite a bit. Death's Advance is letting him close the gap pretty quickly. Buff Arcane got himself no invis for a bit actually. I was gonna say maybe invis, but that was a different cooldown I was looking for. Root by the pet really early, so no longer has an intro by the pet. Stun as Cavalier gets rooted. Is gonna grip Buff Arcane to him with the Abomination Limb. Buff Arcane just gonna walk out of there. Fleshcraft could maybe interrupted. Last second, got himself full-fledged Arcane damage into Poly. Gonna be a Lynchborn. Buff Arcane could go for the biggest burst possible. Does have ult of time in case his health dips low. Cavaliers is aware of this. Is gonna hang out by where his ult of time is at. Buff Arcane using it as a way to juke him out. He's like, oh, let me leave that image. That's where I'm gonna port. And Cavalier's like, all right, well, I'm gonna wait you for there. And it's like, wait a minute, you cancel it. And Buff Arcane is already in the other zip code. Already ran away. Cavaliers has AMS, Trinket, IBF. He has a lot of defenses to work with. Buff Arcane has an invis to dip out for a second. Disappear with another invis to follow. Got himself a 60% damage reduction with that second invis. Still, Cavaliers is able to break right through those defenses. Trying to go for a knockback with the shield. Got himself whatever prismatic barrier possible. Silence. I think it's over. Buff Arcane is down. Man, that damage versus the Enhanced Shaman. That was everything all packed up in one. That was tough to deal with. Hodge onto Cavaliers. IBF said immediately. Miller Palo with the blind has a lot of holy damage for Cavaliers, but he doesn't really combine wings to it. I think he was trying to wait out the anti-magic shell, the anti-magic zone. He's like, you know what? I don't want 20% of my damage just going to that shield. Nope. No, please. Please, no. Gonna be big slams. Miller Pala is gonna see the final wreck coming out. Or Cavalier's going to see if he can finally recommend out from Lord Paladin. Going for that stone with a Wraithwalk. He had Wraithwalk this whole time and has never used it. That's a surprise to me. Is going to sacrifice his pet, summon a new one. And it's going to activate the Swarm. The Unholy Swarm should amp up some of the damage versus Milord Pala with the pets, especially if he wants to go for full Apocalypse. But the Paladin is avoiding the Swarm and the Death Knight completely. Dark Transformation still getting used in order to beef up the pet. Cavalier's looking to add himself a full Army of the Dead AMS in case Milord Pala goes for Hammer of Justice or any damage whatsoever. And the Army of the Dead joins the fight. Milord Pala could be in trouble. This could be really bad for him as the grippy hand is up. If any of those attack him, the pets or the Death Knight, it's going to be bubbled at 1 health. Literally bubbled at 1 health. Literally at 1 health. He's literally done. He's literally done. He's cowering. I think he's not leaving, but I think he's given up. Fist of Fury onto Cavaliers. Looks like it's going to be big homie taking him out. Milord Pala is still getting health, but I think he's done. Like, he's a target somehow, but I think he's out. Like, out. Sozan going to be up next. Looks like he can't really hit Milord Pala. Literally bubbled at 1 health. He's like, all right, I lose. I gived. Man, he gived. That was a lot of damage, my lord, wasn't it? That was a lot of damage. Those undeads are no joke. Because, like, you were trying to wait to get away from the Death Knight, but just the pets themselves also do so much damage. Like, you can't really get away from one or the other. Like, you're actually just in a pincer maneuver and there's nowhere to go. I don't like, oh no, Gabriel didn't get the kill. It's okay, Gabriel. You won that one. That just counts. That one counts in my books. Probably the monk came to me through Yeah, the monk afterwards, after you were out cooldowns. That sometimes happens in 5v5s. Yeah, that's how it would be sometimes. That's going to be a big kick. Sozan having to go for big defensive. Fist of Fury flying to the 50% dampener, trying to get whatever healing he can with Disperse as well as Vampire Brace. Needs some sort of CC onto Big Homie. Oh, he has a silence. It looks like Touch of Death is going to end up taking him out. Big Homie Kang versus an Oxygen. I feel like these two have ran into each other this evening. Back to back to back, trying to land a polymorph onto Homie. Is Oxygen playing normal Blink now instead of Shimmer? I would have thought he would have Shimmer without Poly. It looks like he's kind of trying to waddle away, not really trying to Shimmer with a Poly. He's just trying to land a normal Poly instead. Oxygen hit with a leg sweep is going to have himself all the time. Normal Blink gets him out of stuns. So I think that's his plan, is to play normal Blink to get him out of stuns to give him a bit of a shield. So Homie could not lock him down ever. So Oxygen can be a little bit more aggressive. Into a Poly, needs to make sure he has himself the full best go possible. Ring of Frost where his image is going to be. He's trying to predict where he's going to go. With a full combustion, Meteor coming down, Meteor missing, but it's still full combustion out into Karma. Big Homie got himself Karma as well as Diffuse Magic, trying to reduce as much of that damage as possible. Big damage to Oxygen, who really wishes he had all the time for that situation. Might be cauterized. Yep, there goes the cauterize into an ice block. Is going to be able to recover a little bit of health, but at 57% dampening, it is not as big of a recovery. Look at Oxygen. Whatever health he recovers from here is all he's going to get. Unless maybe he gets some kind of like a healing buff, maybe Mage Food. Big Homie got himself in a really good position, got himself a port back there into a kick onto Oxygen. Does get a breath. What did he get kicked on? Frost? Did you kicked on Frost? That's going to be a Meteor coming in. Homie is going to pour it out of there. I think the Meteor might have still hit him. Flash cut is up. No way Oxygen can interrupt it. Just doesn't have the line of sight. And Oxygen is looking for a bit of a reset. No, he's not going to get to us. Homie is just going to approach him with an in-cap. Leg sweep is definitely going to be blinkable. Yep, blinks out of that leg sweep. As Homie still is not deterred by that blink at all. Oxygen got himself a breath for the images into a polymorph onto Homie. Is going to be able to lower down... Try to reduce the amount of damage Homie got. He got himself a Tiger Sludge just to make sure he can hit the seed. I feel like that root would have actually led Oxygen to get a full res with that seed. On Forge. The man didn't even blink for a second there, what it looked like. Man, that was rough. Yo, that massive burst out of Seawork, boys. That was incredible. That was huge. And I feel like there was a lot of bursts out of everybody here. We got the DK with the burst. We got the Shaman did pretty well. We got the Arcane Mage just blasting it out. That's rough, man.